Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jahliel. I am here to talk about the energies of the next week from March 16th until March 22nd. So, the first transits that are going to be perfected this week, they happen the same day of the new moon in Pisces. At least here in Argentina is March 18th. In some other places could be March 19th. So 18th, Venus in Aries makes a square with Jupiter in Cancer. This is part of the configuration of that event. I just wanted to remind you, I talked about this in the video of yesterday of the new moon. I just wanted to remind you of the tendency that could, be present when we have to make decisions that could involve immediate satisfaction or this apparent emotional relief. But it is important to recognize if deep down what we are about to do, it is not actually nourishing, initiatives that are not coming from the recognition of self-love, whether this is linked with trying to cover up a void with excesses or sharing with other people, but not from a substantial space or reciprocal exchanges, but from this distraction from what is causing discomfort or we don't want to face. I am referring that the choices that can actually produce expansion and contribute with the manifestation of desires of the soul with this tension require the transcendence of wanting to cover up those voids with experiences that we recognize that don't have a purpose, a true sense. Because if we do that, that creates the space, the vessel to receive what is. So that same day, the Sun in Pisces perfects a sextile with Uranus in Taurus. This I didn't mention yesterday, but it is part of the principal configuration of the new moon. It is a fluid aspect that brings the opportunity of innovation, detachment, and change. But having in account everything that I commented yesterday, it is important for us to make this registration of what we require for our process. Because the energy of Uranus many times could awaken this will of making a radical change. But with all this charge of Pisces that we have right now, that could be done from an escapism of reality and not from something that truly involves a renewal of the experience or a decision that is actually aligned with the freedom of the soul. This means wanting to free ourselves from something quickly without facing the process that is showing that truly can actually produce the changes. For other people, certainly this has to do with a decision that they understood that is vital and that could be felt as removing the earth from its basis to turn something fertile and to grow something there from here and on. Anyways, a sextile is actually an aspect that doesn't propose resistance. It is more about impulse, and with Uranus in here, creative possibilities that are emerging. It is a great aspect, in fact. And the last one that the Sun in Pisces it is going to do before Uranus is moving to Gemini. So generating new ways of stability, using your inner or external resources to share them with other people, putting in practice ideas or projects to connect with sustenance, and decisions that are linked with giving value to your energy are very, very well aspected. Well, that same day we have the new moon in Pisces in the degree 28. We are going direct to March 20th. That same day, Mercury becomes direct in Pisces in the degree 8 with 29 minutes. So the retrogradation ends, but Mercury is going to come out from the stationary period on March 24th. This means that it is that day that Mercury moves from mathematical degree. So there are certain effects still when Mercury is awakening, things with the communication and the transports and those kind of things. But from that moment, many people could feel much more clearer to decide, to communicate, to create an agreement, to begin a project that is very inspiring, talking about the energy of Pisces, and that you already have reevaluated. Okay, March 20th, the Sun enters Aries. So we have the equinox of autumn here in the South Hemisphere and spring in the North Hemisphere. This is the new astrological year. And we are going to experiment this time with the energy of the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune and Saturn in Aries that is going to be reactivated by the Sun. these contacts are going to be perfected on March 22nd with Neptune and March 25th with Saturn. But we are going to feel this even before, even when the sun is circulating in the last degrees of Pisces. So energetically, this is going to be very powerful. And how you are going to experiment this depends on many factors. For example, how you are managing your impulses, your force to begin, your will to assume lessons of maturity and responsibility, to establish boundaries, whether in circumstances where we are losing energy in external experiences, as much as, with people that could have like invasive behaviors or excessively aggressive, and to put also intention in understanding what life is trying to communicate through those situations. I mean, if there are difficulties to face fears and to decide, it could be that repressed force could come in shadow from the outside. This is not in order to justify, imbalances in behaviors of other people. And if there is a tendency to impulsivity or wanting to accelerate a process from anxiety, something that could not be accelerated, well, you could experiment frustration, or even with certain areas, a lesson that is like, crashing against a wall. That could be something that it is felt like abrupt. If blockages or restrictions appear, it is important to question ourselves which is the information that they are bringing, to transcend them eventually, or to change our direction. Could be other indicator. When we talk about Neptune, it is also important to make this difference between what we consider ideals and visions of our soul, from idealizations and distortions of reality that we are trying to force, or even ideological postures that people want to impose in a totalitarian way towards others. Because there could be lessons of humbleness or having to face self-deceit. But if we observe the process with presence, what we need to act, initiate, or even stop and regulate, we are going to build those visions of the soul in very solid ways, and learning things in the process, learning new things. The energy of Aries, it is very linked with first times. So the problem in here, it is not to make mistakes, it is denying them. It is not recognize, it is to not repair. There is no learning. But the other polarity with Saturn could also be expressed as this such high elevated, self-exigency for fear to make mistakes, because of the fear of making mistakes, that we end up not doing anything and blocking our own path. So this is also important to have in account. I am going to end this video here today. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.